we can have everything that we want with peptides, and we're not delusional about it. Sarah and I are walking our talk and talking our walk, but other way around, with this stuff. And so you don't have to be super sciencey. You don't have to have a lot of money. You just have to have a will to want to ascend and take care of yourself and not be so codependent on a system that doesn't care about you. It cares about your money. And sure, there are some nice doctors. Sure, the doctors are nice. Yes, they have good bedside manner, but it doesn't mean that the programming and the education that they got was nice. Do not let that fool you.
Quick break from the program to share with you something amazing. This is called Sloop. It's actually SLUPP-332, but it's been shortened to Sloop. And this thing mimics exercise. It seems too good to be true. I first shared this on my Substack, and I had Dr. Diane Kazer, and we went through all the benefits of this, and the whole thing sold out. You can't get it anywhere really across the industry. And the people who are using it the most are athletes and bodybuilders and people who want to see extra performance in athletics, because this in preclinical studies with mice increased their endurance by 70% and their distance by 45%. I mean, it's incredible. And it's been shown to mimic exercise even when you're at rest. In preclinical studies with obese mice, they lost upwards of 12% of their body weight in 4 weeks, and it increased muscle. So this is really taking the industry by storm. It's actually not that expensive either. With my 10% coupon, it's about $80 for maybe a 2-month supply if you take 1 capsule a day. If you decide to up it to 2 capsules a day, because your dosage depends on what you want, then it's a 1-month supply. But Dr. Diane recommends doing 1 capsule a day until your body gets used to it. You might not see the same level of results right away that the mice did, but your body can get used to it and see if it's something that you really want to do. If you are interested in this, I will have a link below so you can try it yourself, or go to sarahwestall.com under shop. Remember to use the code Sarah to save 10%. Welcome to Business Game Changers. I'm Sarah Westall. I have my friend Dr. Diane Kazer returning to the program. We're going to talk about regenerative medicine. We're going to talk about why is it being suppressed and why it's so effective. What's going on in our bodies that peptides and exosomes and all these amazing regenerative medicines are really, really helping people feel better in so many ways. It's kind of the holy grail of feeling good. I actually think it's the beginning. I don't think it's like an end all. I think it's the beginning of us starting to figure out how our bodies work and to really heal. And people are just having amazing results. I have been sharing the ultimate peptide guide for weight loss and muscle preservation, using retatrutide, Sloop, 5-amino, so that it helps you. It's next generation GLP-1 that helps you lose weight better than anything I've ever used in my entire life. And then I couple it with other peptides so that it helps build muscle so that you don't lose muscle while you're losing weight and you're reconstituting your body. It's absolutely phenomenal. And then I have a cycling, this is in my protocol, I have a cycling, so you have to cycle off so that your body doesn't get used to it. But when you cycle, you don't want to yo-yo. You need to have a good maintenance protocol. And then you want to get back on it, and you want to stabilize your body for a certain amount of time so that your body resets. There's a whole protocol around it, and it is working. And then there's other peptides. It's not just about vanity. I mean, it's just not about what you look like. It's how you feel. And I use other peptides as well to just feel better. But there's some peptides that really help people deal with a cognitive health, cognitive decline, aches and joints in your body, inflammation. It's a holistic way to approach your healthcare. And she's going to talk about it today. We are going to do another webinar. The last time it was really popular, we're going to do another webinar diving into these more. I've had a year to talk to people about it, learn about how people are responding, and she's got into it a lot more as well. So we're seeing a lot more of what people want and how they react to it. And more people are realizing that, holy crap, this works. And literally everybody in my close surroundings who have used it, the next thing I know, I have all their friends asking me and everything else because it works, and it's so fantastic. If you are interested in getting the peptide book, The Ultimate Guide to Weight Loss and Muscle Preservation. I'll have the link below. Otherwise, it's at sarahwestall.substack.com. And then our webinar is going to be Thursday, November 20th at 5 p.m. That is the week before Thanksgiving. You need to sign up for my Substack, and then you'll get notification of it when it's live. So if you go to sarahwestall.substack.com and sign up for my Substack, you will get notification of the webinar. It'll come right into, it's my newsletter. So you'll get that, but you'll also get notification of the webinars. So be sure to do that. Again, sarahwestall.substack.com. Okay, let's get into this great conversation I have with my friend Diane Kazer. We get into some of the things that have happened in both of our lives. So I hope you can relate to this, because I know a lot of people are going through a lot of crap in their life. It's like everywhere. And we're seeing just so many things go on. So we're going to open up about some of the things that we're dealing with. And I hope that helps you deal with some of the stuff that you're dealing with. And maybe it can give you some insight, and we can all deal with our issues together, because there's a lot of them. Okay, let's get into the conversation with my friend, Dr. Diane. Hi, Diane. Welcome back to the program.
Hi, Sarah. Good to be here.
Well, we got to talk about the peptides and everything. It's changed I feel so much better using this, and I want to talk to you about. And I know you're one of the leading voices on peptides, and I've really done a ton of research over the last year. I'm starting to feel like I really, at least when it comes to weight loss and my own issues, I feel like I've really come along on understanding what's going on, talking to people like you and other experts. It is really changing the way we view health and regenerative medicine and everything. Can you talk about why it's been so suppressed for so long?
Yeah. Well, I always love sharing the quote: when we look at the two most profitable industries in the world, you understand everything. And the two most profitable industries is war and illness. So if we take away illness, we take away their profits. And so they don't want us well. They want us dependent, codependent. They don't want us independent, interdependent. They want us to feel isolated, the same way that when COVID hit, everybody was at home and lonely. And we could probably argue that loneliness is the biggest stressor, right? We are meant to be together, and we're meant to be connected to each other. But ultimately, and this is where peptides and bioregulators come in, is we're meant to be connected to our parts. We have 11 systems of the body, and when they're not talking to each other, our body is not functioning optimally, or even functioning really at all. Many people are barely walking around like they have any function, and there's brain fog epidemic. So there is actually one thing right now as far as suppression. Big ag companies, as well as the whole Western medical complex, they've been researching BPC for the last 2 years. And BPC is like the gateway peptide that most people know. And most people know BPC plus TB500 as the Wolverine stack. Those two together really bring back our body parts and our connective tissues and restore function. So that's, a lot of people begin there.
What is the stack again? BPC, which I take every single day. And
so
what's the stack?
So BPC and TB500, TB500, those two together, and they're meant to be an injection form. Of course, if people are afraid of injections, there's also capsules and intranasals and bioregulators. But the body will use the whole thing when you use injection. And you guys, we're talking about, we talked about this before in the show, but it's the first time you're hearing us talk about this. They're tiny insulin needles. You can barely feel them. It's like, I always say, people
it's not bad.
No, at first people are like, oh my God, because they think about the needle that goes into the vein when people go to get their blood drawn for lab tests.
Not the same thing.
That, and even me, I'm like, I don't like that either. But you're putting it into abdominal fat, or your leg fat, or your glute fat, your arm fat. It's really, you barely feel it.
But I don't like to, even that, I don't like to necessarily get an injection every day. I like the ones that are like every, a couple times a week, or every, every week. Retatrutide, like my weight loss protocol, that's just once a week. I I
Hmm.
I feel better about that. But you could realistically, could you, let me ask, could you do a combination of injections and capsules at the same time? Like you could
Oh,
do maybe
yes.
an injection once a week and the capsules the rest. And so you get it going, but you don't have to inject yourself all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk about that in my courses and in our VIP group and with patients, because the thing is not everybody's disciplined, and we're so busy that peptides are forgiving. It's not like a prescription where if you don't take it every day, your body's going to go into a full-blown freak out attack on itself because it's not getting what it needs to suppress. Because that's all the medications do is they suppress, they numb, they deactivate. We're trying to help your body awaken again to remember
It's a
how to
different
heal.
perspective. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
the opposite perspective.
Opposite.
It's encouraging your body to do it versus the other one is suppressing. So if you don't take the suppression, you feel like shit because you're no longer suppressed. Whereas if you're encouraging your body, your body just isn't as encouraged for that day, and your body starts to take over, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
When you get
and
these.
that's the whole idea is to, if we're looking at this like the polarity, because right now things are becoming more polar. Everybody thinks in black and white, dialectic thinking, and if it's not this, it's that, and there's the gray area in between. But if we look at like peptides and prescriptions, they're literally the polarity. So peptides are designed to help you awaken. Prescriptions are designed to put you to sleep. So your body cannot, our symptoms are communication mechanisms. Our symptoms are our body going, I didn't like that. Like a 5-year-old at school, it's going to cry if he or she has eaten something it doesn't like or got bullied. It's going to cry. What do we do with these children? We don't tell them to shut up and put duct tape over their mouth and send them in the corner. We depending on the school, I guess, right?
Well, yeah,
we
exactly.
how can we support you? Western medicine, it does that very thing. It takes, the symptoms, which is your body crying out, hey, I need you to listen to me. Something is off down here, and I need you to give me what I need to heal. Prescriptions are the mask, the duct tape, the sit in the corner, shut up. It is gaslighting, whereas peptides is reawakening, remembering, restoring, revitalizing, and retraining the body. And so peptides are forgiving in the sense that if you don't take them every single day, you don't go back into the slumber that you were in before or lose the symptoms. If you don't do an injection every single day, if you don't take the capsules every day, it's okay. Because your body makes 8,000 of them every day on its own. And our body has forgotten how to do that because of all of the disruption, the poisons, the pathogens, the parasites, and the programming, and radiation, and toxic water, and the stuff that we're putting on our skin, and all the things we talk about that is poisoning our body. And when that is disrupting our cells signaling, then our body parts can't communicate. So our immune system fails, our endocrine system is not operating, and people think, oh, I'm just in menopause, must just be getting older, must just be stress, must just be genetics. That's what you've been programmed to believe. So we hope that you hearing this, you realize that you're not doomed or damaged. It's just that your body can't cell signal anymore. And that's where peptides come in. That's where bioregulators come in. So your body goes, oh yeah. Your liver goes, oh yeah, I remember. I'm supposed to help the body cleanse these toxins so I don't go into liver failure. Or 1 in 3 kids has fatty liver disease these days and not even drinking
Yeah, it's
alcohol yet.
incredible that kids have that kind of problems. It's absolutely absurd that kids
Yeah,
are
it's
getting
sad.
cancers like they are. It's just not right. But, I had this anxiety that I've had and I can't, when I'm awake, I don't have it, but it was always like when I was asleep in the morning, when I couldn't control my thoughts is when I'd really feel it. And then I get up and I could control it and I was fine. I don't have that anymore. I was just thinking, I'm like, I haven't had that in a while. And I don't even know if it was a specific peptide as much as I think, because I take a slew of them now. I think
Yeah.
it was my body just functioning better and then starting to take care of it. And
Mhm.
it was a byproduct of just my body functioning better because
Mhm.
anxiety, right, is from your gut not operating right. And there's so many factors that
So
can
many.
cause anxiety that isn't what you think it is. And not just some mental disorder, although sometimes it can be coming from
Hmm.
some mental traumas and stresses. But a lot of times it's just your freaking body.
Hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, and our body, we get addicted to chemicals from the information that our brain generates, right? So people right now, if we look at the collective, people are addicted to fear, they're addicted to drama, and it makes them feel alive. So when I talk about this, and I'm going to talk about what you're referring to here, because brain health is the most important right now among everything. I mean, we're seeing in our practice very advanced stage dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, brain fog, lots of people who are wanting to die, like literally in this. And
Oh, that's
Sarah, this
very
is
sad.
very sad. There's a woman in my industry, and I looked up to her when I first started this work 17 years ago. She's one of me. I don't think she was doing regenerative medicine, but she just died. And she was struggling with mental illness, and she just had a sweet baby boy. So this is not
She wasn't
just,
very old then if she just had a boy.
no, no,
Wow.
she was my age. And so she was struggling with mental illness. And so this, it really hit home for me because she was somebody I really looked up to, and she's very well known. So this is not just somebody who doesn't have money or somebody who grew up in a bad family or somebody who's ill. She was extremely healthy, and people looked at her as the picture of health, and she led millions of people to their own health recovery.
Oh,
So
that's too
this,
bad.
it's very sad. And so I
Well, but
keep
you know
hearing,
what? Well, we talked about this before we got on air of just how hard it is, being being in a public figure is like almost
yeah.
holy crap. I mean, I told you about my Google situation, and I don't know if it's going to be public yet before I this airs or not, but it will be
Mhm.
soon of some of the things that I'm going through of just the attacks and the abuse and I'm kind of, and then we're also seeing a very, very polarized environment. I honestly think, there's for some reason that women are being really attacked. And I know men are too, but there's this division they're trying to create, and they're really trying to put us back into I don't know what it is, but it's just not right. And and I think a lot of people are sensing that this is something's going on that is beyond anything I've experienced in my life. And
Mhm.
you get to a point where how do we create environments where the adults in the room just start taking over and we say, enough of this. I am not going to participate in something that's this unhealthy. And
Mhm.
I am going to focus on, and I'm still going to point out things that aren't good. I'm still going to address issues, but I'm not going to do it in this unhealthy manner because it
Mhm.
only creates fear, anxiety, all these emotional issues that you're talking about. Enough. If I'm raising my children, which they're already in their 20s, I would be all over getting rid of that environment. I do not want my kids in that environment when I was raising them. Why would I create an environment like that for the people around me? It's like enough of that. It's
Mhm.
so unhealthy.
Yeah. And I always like to frame it like this too. Like while we're adults and like you and I are public figures, and we work really hard to help people wake up as much as possible and to take their own health and their wealth in their own hands and find their own personal sovereignty with one little choice at a time, because it doesn't happen
That's
overnight.
right.
It is almost impossible when your body isn't functioning and you're sick, or your mitochondria, in other words, your cells that make energy for you and cell signal for things to actually take place in your body. If those aren't working right, it is hard to be a stand for yourself, to have enough courage and compassion for yourself and confidence to say no. I mean, it takes a lot of energy, mitochondria, um, to be a boundary badass in order to say, no, I don't want this. But if you're in a depression, a funk, a fog, or if there's something that you can't do on your own because you're sick, or you don't feel like you have the mental clarity for it, you're dependent on other people to do the things that you can't do, and you're in a prison. So it's much easier and more empowering to be able to say no to these things that you know are not mentally healthy for you when you have your health, when you have your mental clarity. And that's why a lot of times we talk about, how do we get to that point of saying no? It's not just, we could talk about this all day long of how to cultivate a space of peace and sovereignty and love and all the values that are really high vibrational. We can talk about all day long, but people are down here feeling like, well, I want to be up there. I want to say no to those things, but I'm stuck. And so how do we unstuck you, with this elevator of awakening with your health and your personal sovereignty and your value, your self-value, because you also have an inner 5-year-old inside of you that you have to protect. And if you're not, then the things that are really draining your energy the most are these energy vampires and people who are not taking care of themselves either. So talking about empowering your body is just as important with peptides and health and healthy food as it is to get toxic people out of your life that you have enough energy and mental clarity to say no to.
Well,
So
it's exactly, and like, I'm being really attacked and it's going to come out. And the last thing I want to do is lash out at my husband or my son and project it onto them because they
yeah,
didn't do it. They're good, great people. And so the last thing you want to do is project it onto your wife or your
yes,
husband or whatever else because it's just, it harms others because the world, you have to embrace the people who, the adults in the room, the people who are
yes.
good and behave. Don't thrash, lash out at good people because bad people are creating this toxic environment. I think that's number one. And then don't lash out at yourself either. And then what you're saying is work on your health because it makes it easier to behave. It makes it easier to be the person you want to be.
Exactly. And Sarah, I'll be honest too, like lately, because I've been experiencing so much of this myself, where there's a lot of darkness in the world and people who are not taking care of themselves or who are desperate because we're seeing this financial divide happening, and people who don't have the resources that they need, they're going to have to get it from somewhere. So they go find somebody that they can take it from, whether it's light or it's money or it's time. When you think about it, it's really, I wouldn't say everybody's a narcissist, but we all have narcissistic tendencies when we're in fight or flight or a state of desperation. So people have to become self-centered, and they need something from other people that they can't generate or don't have themselves. And so even me personally lately, I've experienced so much of this and I'm going, oh God, this is like the vampire apocalypse, get your fangs away from me. But sometimes you don't
Wasn't that
know.
what they published on where did the United Nations said that the vampire zombie apocalypse is coming? They actually put a thing on their
Oh yeah,
website.
that was years ago. And they've been talking about how to prepare for it at the CDC. And that was like 10 years ago. And then they did another update for it during COVID. I'm like, well, yeah, okay. Predictive programming.
It's
Here's the movie.
so
It's happening right in
weird.
front of
Yeah.
us. I find, for me personally, I do lash out sometimes, and
I
that's part of
know.
being a human. It's part of being a human. It's like to say like don't do that. We know that there are things we shouldn't be doing and it's not ethical, but when we get pushed to this boiling point, which all of us are right now, we're hitting this boiling point financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, everything. We're hitting these boiling points and people are right here. You hit that one surface and we blow up. And so it's having the right consciousness and also the right frame of mind to say, hey, I'm sorry, but these things infect us. And when we're infected by these frequencies, these dark frequencies, the low vibrational frequencies, we have to detox them and clear them and then not lash out to other people. But it happens. We're all human, and it's a part of compassion, it's part of empathy. I find that there are things that I work with personally when this happens with me. It's to admit, hey, I'm sorry, that was me. This has nothing to do with you. Please don't take it personal. I did it last night because I was attacked yesterday, not physically, but financially and energetically. And I was really in it. Like, what do I do with this? And I said to somebody who's close to me in my life, please tell me that you're not going to use me too. And he
Oh,
took it personal. And I said, no, this is just me really trying to find safety in a world that feels so unsafe. And I was saying it vulnerably to him, like, I don't mean to say the things I say sometimes, but it wasn't an attack on him. It was just me trying to find,
yes.
where am I safe
Yes.
right now? Where are we safe? And
I,
we
you
have to
know,
have those conversations.
I 100% see what you're saying. And I have a close relative of mine who is acting weirdly because they don't have enough money, right? Right now, they're short on money. So they're acting out of character. And I'm like, okay, I started thinking there's something else going on.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, because I'm in a better financial position than they are. So
Mhm.
just don't worry about it. I'm going to pay for it, right? Not everybody can do that. But
Yes.
in this situation, I'm like, if I can help them, it's not that much money. And if I can help them take a load off their mind, don't take it personally what they're saying to me and how they're treating me and being petty about it, realizing it's because they're in some kind of desperate situation. Just a quick correction here. During the interview, I said you need to sign up for the webinar, for the peptide webinar that I'm doing with Dr. Diane Kazer on my Substack. That you can sign up for it and get notices about it, but to actually sign up for the webinar, you need to go to sarahwestall.com/peptides. That gets you in the official mailing list just for the webinar, and it also allows you to submit questions. So remember, sarahwestall.com/peptides, and the webinar is going to be November 20th at 5 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah. And they don't know how to say it. And that's why they're acting weird. They don't know how to ask for help, but we can sense that. And that's how I've been with money lately too, Sarah, is I can sense, the divide down here in Mexico where there's Americans, there's expats, there's Canadians, there's people from the UK. We bring more money here, and then the people living in Mexico don't make very much money. So I have been very gracious with just sharing because I have plenty, and I don't want them to feel weird. I want them to feel like they have a place where it's not like being codependent and providing for them, like they keep coming back and asking for more. It's just the generosity piece that we need to bring back. And for me, sometimes I get a bit defensive about it. And then I go, are they using me? But I'm creating that own dynamic in my head. So when we're giving, we can't also think, oh, are they going to use me? And I bring myself back down when I'm in my mind like that. To go back to your point with the bit more of like overthinking, overfunctioning, and you just can't stop the mind. When the body has a healthy level of, and this is coming back to the chemical aspect, because we don't know if it's chemical or mental that people have anything happening in the mind, right? So the mental aspect of it is it could just be familiar that we have these thoughts and our ego has something to do, right? Or it could be a chemical deficiency or hormonal deficiency because hormones are made from minerals, right? And when the body has the building blocks that it needs, we can make more of the things that we need to feel calm or to have cognitive clarity or to fight a bug or to clear and detox a poison. If our body is constantly fighting these poisons and pathogens and parasites, then all of our energy is being utilized to protect us from that. And then we're depleted. So that there's things that I like that really tend to help. I look at a lot of people's hormones labs, right? Not blood, beyond. We're looking at like urine, metabolites of hormones. What's the body actually using of what it's producing, right? And then we have next to that a lot of poisons, xenoestrogens, obesogens, carcinogens. And all of those poisons, especially like xenoestrogens, they're like 1,000 times stronger at the receptor site to be used than our own made estrogen. When that's happening, our hormones suffer and we are not able to, at some point, we're not able to make cortisol. That's our eustress and distress hormone. It's a hormone that's made for energy, but it could be used for excitement, like a wedding or a baby being delivered, or you become a grandma or something great happens and you're like, why am I so flat? I feel depressed. I can't even get excited. You're not depressed. You're hormonally deficient. You're mineral deficient. Your peptides are not cell signaling. It might not just be depression or anxiety or overthinking, to your point, Sarah. It might be that you just don't have the building blocks to bring your body back to calm, balance, and homeostasis. So there's a peptide I love called oxytocin, and that is our love hormone. It's our connection hormone. It's our compassion hormone. It brings us back to who we are as humans versus these over-functioning, ego, money hungry, or even money for survival, fight or flight mentality. That's just one peptide as an example. But when we can be back in our body as the biology as we've been created, we're not in that desperate state or anxiety or depressed or not sleeping as well. And there is hope for everybody who's looking for that.
Well, Sherry Edwards came on my show. And before we got on the show, she can hear hundreds of times better than the average human. She's just freaking amazing. And she's the one that put together over 500,000 frequency health points together. And I think I think we're still out. People don't understand it. She's ahead of her time. She's like, I call her the Tesla of her time in healthcare.
Yeah.
And they just don't, they're not embracing it like they would because she's so far ahead of her time.
Right.
And I think eventually we're seeing elements of that breaking out, like wound healing with frequency. We're starting to see these elements. But when she talked to me, she goes, Sarah, you're just so much more open. She could tell I was physically much healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And that came from these peptides that I've been taking. It
Mm-hmm.
has to be because that's the one thing that I've really changed in my life is
Mm-hmm.
that. And I do. It's affecting me it's probably why I can make it through some of these. My mom dying a week and a half ago, and the Google the attack that I'm seeing from all directions, which hold on to your hats once you hear about that. Uh, I think it's why I can handle this in a way that I don't think I could have handled it 5 years ago.
Same, Sarah. And this is a perfect point. That's the first of all, I'm sorry to hear about your mom. And I knew that before the show, but it's when you told me, I was just devastated for you.
I was
And
so pissed. So I was venting with you. Yes.
no, and it's fine. And
Like a
that's
week
why
ago,
we
I'm like, they killed my mom.
yeah, and that's why we need
Yes.
sisterhood and we need
Yeah.
each other to listen and not just like notice I wasn't like everything's gonna be fine, Sarah. I didn't go into fix mode. We need to hear each other from our hearts and not try to go into fix mode. And I this is a little side thing, but I created this when I wrote my book as I was suffering when I was going through breast implant illness and people didn't get it. They're like, oh, well, you got breast implants. You did it to yourself. And I'm like, well, why would breast cancer sufferers get all the attention in the world? But I'm struggling with, a breast implant. It's an implant. They've done no studies on. They're all in violation of their pre-market approvals. I didn't know that. There was no informed consent. I'm still suffering and I still need someone to
Yeah.
at least just tell me, or just be there with me when I'm going through. Anyway,
No, but I
there's something.
understand that. So that when I sent that to you, I didn't need you to fix me. I just needed to be like, I hear you. You know,
That's exactly it.
that
There's
made me feel better than to don't
yes.
I just understand me. That's all I needed at that time
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you
empathize.
understood what it was that I was going that the industry. I wrote a Substack on. If anybody wants to know, I vented it on my Substack, and maybe at some point I'll really dive into it. But I felt that the system let her down, and
Yeah.
I wrote about it, and I believe that funded my dad took him out to breakfast the other day. He had a stroke a couple weeks ago too, like a week and a half before she died. He had a stroke. Poor guy. He has to retrain himself to remember. And then my mom dies on his birthday. I mean, it's just so bad. He's
Oh,
in a rehab center. So I have a different view of, I'm there helping my dad read them. He needs actually so proud of him. He's really trying to, it's giving him some purpose to relearn his ABCs, and he's coming a long way. And he's a smart educator. He has 2 master's degrees, an engineer. He's all these things, and he can't read. He can't think. Like he's so frustrated. But it's given him purpose in a time. But when we were at the restaurant, he just said, first time he said this, he said the system killed my wife, and he was
oh,
so upset. And I just looked at him and I said, "Yeah, I know, Dad." And we just sat there, and then we tried to change, subjects. What are you supposed to do? And
yeah,
but he realizes, but he would never have known that before. Like he didn't. He trusted the system, and then
yeah,
he got to see what it was like, and firsthand for somebody with cancer, and it's awful.
yeah. It's unfortunately, I mean, the only way, and this is going back to like Buddha conversations and suffering is the greatest wake up call. Pain is the greatest teacher. They make us feel alive. And Rumi says, the cracks of the heart is where the light can shine through. And so we elevate when we go through pain or we go through joy. There's the pain or pleasure principle, right? And unfortunately, so many people had to see exactly what we were talking about back in COVID 2020. We're like, don't get the shots. This is what this is. And now they're starting to see why. Like my dad almost died 3 months ago, and he went to Kaiser, and they told him everything. First, they're like, "Oh, you're lucky to be alive," when they admitted him. And then 3 hours later, they ran a few tests on him and they said, okay, everything's fine, go home. I'm like, Dad, you don't go from you're lucky to be
Yeah.
alive. And then it happened 3 days later and they did it again. Sarah, they didn't check his heart. When we went down to Mexico, I said, come down to Mexico. I'm not your daughter. I'm your doctor right now. You will listen to me. And they came down to Mexico and our team of
There's a
doctors looked.
point where you just take over. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I'm
Yes.
like, you were not, because they're like, oh, everything feels fine now. And I'm like, no, no. your body is screaming at you, and you've never been taught, like many of us have not been taught, how to listen to our body and to give it what it needs, or to go somewhere to work with somebody who can decode what all of these language, the symptoms mean, and give it what it needs, right? And that's where peptides come in, and that's where regenerative medicine comes in. And when we went down to Mexico and I said, check his heart, they didn't even check his heart. He was 70% blocked in two of his blood vessels, 50% blocked in another, and 100% another. His carotid arteries were 70% blocked, and he had the same exact blockage that everybody, that the embalmers that have been blowing the whistle, who've been breaking down the bodies who have died, has been blocked down the aortic aneurysm. He had all of those blocked. He was a ticking time bomb. We had to do 3 heart stents, and he's now in his, I call it his afterlife, and I'm picking them up at the airport after this. But this is the stand that a lot of people can't be for their family members, because they don't know what any of this means. And so that's why when we do these shows and talk about these things, we get to vent, we get to share stories. And going back to what I was saying earlier, how to be a better listener versus just being self-centered and telling people what you think that they need to hear based on what you think that you're supposed to say. You sit down and you say, I'm all ears. When somebody shares a story, they're suffering, they're struggling, they're sick, whatever it is, I'm all ears. Do you need empathy? Do you need advice? Do you need reassurance? Or do you need space? What would you like? How can I support you right now? Rather than just coming in and saying, oh, do this and take this. Because you're in fix-it mode. Some people just need to be heard.
Yeah, the fix-it mode can kind of, the problem with fix-it mode is it can rebel. People are, they just,
exactly.
They don't want that. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't want to be fixed. I just want to be heard. And so that's why we need to come together like this. And it's hard to hear people when you're in your own fight or flight. So in the state of balance that Sarah's talking about, like, you can probably see, and I see this in all of the comments below your videos now. It's like, in people you interview, you're like, Sarah, you literally look like you're in your early 20s. And I'm 40. I just turned 47 last week. Yeah, of course. And you've been working hard to get there. You had a mission, and you're accomplishing it. I just turned 47 last week, and I feel better than I did when I was 25. And people are like, how do you look like that? What are you doing? I'm like, of course, there's a lot of things. I live healthy. I take care of my brain. I like to go scuba diving and get out in nature and get sunlight. All that matters. I use my frequency healing machines too. I use a Rife machine, but mainly peptides have been restoring my internal function. And when your body is connected again, it's like you have 11 family members and they're all holding each other. Then you can finally, what you're referring to, Sarah, how you're able to handle all this is called stress resilience. You can't see it from a healthy perspective if you don't have optimal levels of hormone production and neurotransmitter balance, and your body is in a state of homeostasis. We need that because more and more stressors are on the horizon, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. So we need to prepare for that.
Yes, and it's going to be really difficult. And so that's why I keep saying the adults in the room need to come forward. And maybe it's the people who are, you can be you can be sick, physically sick, but you're still an adult. There's a difference in the way you're not so lost in everything that's happening. If you're listening to this show, you're probably a little bit more balanced, because the people who are not able to think anymore do not like listening to my show.
I know.
They just don't listen to me. They're busy listening to all the division. But
yes,
if you do, I can't tell you how many people over the last year the peptides have helped. And I think we can take it even further with exosomes and stem cells and all these other things as we start to really learn. But peptides, there's a whole world of them, and they're the building blocks of our body, right? I mean, it's just, I'm so pleased with what I've been going through physically and what I'm seeing others go through. It's absolutely remarkable.
it is. And I love your listeners. So for you who are listening, I know that to listen to women like myself and Sarah, you have to be willing to be awakened beyond your current state of awakening or slumber or whatever it is. You're on a mission, you're seeking, you're knocking, and you're wanting to improve. And so you're not listening to Sarah unless you are, like you said, if you're addicted to the fear and the division and the drama and all of it, and basically watching a TV show with these air quotes truth speakers or the politicians or people commenting on all of that is just intended to keep you quiet inside, because
even
it's
if
loud.
they don't know it. even if they don't know, because they're
Yeah,
caught
it's
up into
entertainment.
everything too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's entertainment and people need to be in the know. And so if you're listening to this show, you're a lot more conscious. And the people who come to us and are working with us as patients, some of which come from your community, Sarah, we were just on a call last week in our because we have like 350 members in our ministry group, and if people can't afford working with doctors and expensive stem cells, I just say just get into our VIP group, and I'll help answer questions that you guys feel really stuck by or feel like you're hopeless to. One woman came in, and she's at her 4-month mark with us as a patient. She showed up last week, and I was like, everybody noticed on the call. They were like, your energy, because she was just like you were describing, like she came in, it was anxious, not you were anxious, but the way she used to be,
Yeah.
anxious, hyper vigilant, she wouldn't slow down. She was always on her next thought. She couldn't be present. She couldn't listen as well. She looked different. Everybody noticed it, like the inflammation, the weight shed, her skin looked different, her focus, and now she's writing a book again. She was a totally different person. And
Yep.
for someone like that, and you might be like listening, going, well, what would that mean for me? How can I apply that to me? Depression, anxiety, PTSD. We're all living in these realms of what's real, what's fake. What's real is you, your heartbeat, your cells that want to be reactivated again. And what's not real is a $2 billion lawsuit with Ozempic where people are losing their organ function, which is the opposite. Ozempic is a peptide, it's semaglutide, but it's more stuff in it that the pharmaceutical company puts in it. We talk about things like retatrutide.
But
People
why,
take retatrutide.
Ozempic, that peptide underlying Ozempic shouldn't do that unless there's other stuff in it and
Mhm.
unless they're being irresponsible about how they're going about losing, because it just does not make sense if it's just the pure peptide. Something else is going on.
Yeah, well,
Because
first of
I've
all,
been asking scientists and stuff going, what is going on there?
yeah, I put up a post about this on Instagram, and Instagram is doing a lot of censoring on,
Oh,
or social media meta on
unfortunately.
even peptides. They're doing it on peptides because they don't want, I mean, this is the first message. If they're censoring me talking about peptides, there's your answer because they're so threatened by it because they know that it's making people well that they don't want people to know about it. So that's how powerful these things are. But what's happening with Wegovy, Mounjaro, Ozempic is that they're starting them at very high doses, number one. Number two, they're not talking at all about how to prevent weight rebounding. When they get off of these things, they gain more weight back.
You have to have a maintenance protocol, which is in my peptide
Yeah.
guide, by the way.
Yeah, and it's amazing that you learned so much that you wrote a guide on it. And the other thing that we have to support at the same time as, and semaglutide is like having a flip phone right now, because there are other ones that are doing far greater things like retatrutide, which retatrutide, my friends who have taken other things like Ozempic
It's
before
not
or,
even
or
close.
semaglutide, they're like, how does this even exist? Like I watched my friends walk into the room and I haven't seen them for a month and we're, going to a dance event and I'm like, I just saw the moment you walked in the door, you've lost weight, you've lost inflammation, you're glowing, your neck is less inflamed because people want beauty, of course, but they want the energy. They don't want the weight noise. They don't want to be powerless to these cravings and the wine, the sugar and the carbs. And it's that easy. So with semaglutide, the doctors, the MDs are not programmed and trained to talk to people about increasing your protein, getting more movement, using, weights, resistance training, getting sunshine, drinking clean water, fixing the real root cause why you're overweight to begin with, which is insulin problems. So when we fix the insulin signaling, we also slow the food noise and the gastric emptying while we're also improving the metabolism and mitochondria, in other words, giving you energy. In one peptide, you covered all of that ground, and then you start to want to eat healthier. You want to move more. You want to build muscle because you have the energy and the focus to do so. So these peptides are bridges because a lot of people want to be over there. I wish I wasn't so hungry all the time. I wish I wasn't powerless to drinking wine and eating out all the time or, stuffing my emotions with jelly beans or chips or whatever it is that you are ashamed of while you're sitting at home yourself binging on a bag of chips. Don't, hey, I'm human. I do it once in a while too. Not very often because peptides have slowed the food noise
You
in my
just don't
head,
want, yeah, you just don't have that need to the same degree.
right?
That's huge. But retatrutide is a next generation peptide.
Yeah.
It really is a leap forward. And
Mhm.
trust me, they want to take this over. They want to sell it and restrict it and make it really expensive. And that's
They've
going
already, yeah.
they're working towards that.
They are, and they've already, so tirzepatide, you've heard of that one, Sarah. So there's tirzepatide is a dual agonist,
Mhm.
retatrutide is a triagonist. I like it the most. And we also start people in low dosing and work them up just to make sure that they don't have any negative reactions because the $2 billion lawsuit happening right now with Ozempic is because people have lost their eyesight, they've lost their organ function. It's not the peptide itself, so it's not to instill fear about peptides. It's the way that people have been negligently recommended it without also the other things to build muscle too. Because when you lose weight and you're burning fat, you're also losing muscle. And then when you get off of these peptides, or not the peptides, but let's just say Ozempic, which is semaglutide, it's only a GLP-1, then because you haven't been building the muscle and your body's also using muscle for fuel, so you lose your muscle, then when you get off of it, you have less muscle because you lost weight and some of it's been muscle and you gain more weight back, the food cravings come back, and people are struggling with digestive dysfunction and disease.
Well,
So
you
we keep,
lose the muscle, gain more fat back. And so in that
yeah.
cycle, you now have less muscle and more fat. And so it ends up the cycle is worse. You've got to maintain it. My understanding is that after like 12 to 18 months, if you can keep your body at a balanced level, it starts to reset. Because when you lose weight, your body really wants to get back to that other weight that it was at. And so you have to make sure you're in a maintenance mode protocol, make sure you're in a cycle off and on. You have to know what to do for that whole period so that you
Mhm.
can reset your body.
I just thought of something based on what you just said, Sarah. So I like to always frame things as an example so people can
Perfect.
really
Yeah.
get it, because science could be overwhelming sometimes. So a real life example is if you're in a toxic relationship and somebody is trying to imprison you so that you don't go, you don't leave them, they're in control of you. Somebody would call that narcissistic. That's on the rise at this point. Some people say it's like 25% of the population at this point. And like we were talking about earlier, the more people are in fight or flight or lack, they have to become narcissistic and self-centered in order to survive. So when people are in survival mode, they become more narcissistic. What do narcissistic people tend to do? They tend to literally program you by saying things to you that you turn against yourself, that they gaslight you so you don't know what's up, down, left, or right, true, false. And that's what's happening when you take something like a prescription or Ozempic. It's turning your own body off so it can't remember what it is and what it's supposed to do. It's blunting things, it's numbing things, it's turning signaling off. That's what pharmaceuticals do. We can literally never self-heal with any pharmaceutical. And so what peptides do is they help you remember how to restore and who you are. They help your organs remember what to do and how to self heal. And so it's the polar opposite, going back to that analogy. So if you can see that, because everybody's been in a toxic relationship, nobody wants to repeat it. But if we're not healthy, we will keep repeating the same thing over and over again, especially if we don't have clarity. So that's what I love so much about, retatrutide and some of these other ones that bring back your brain on board. And you're like, you literally look back and go, why was I ever doing that? Because you didn't have the cell signals to remind you what was healthy and truth. Peptides remind you what is true, and your
That's
organs
right.
remember and they follow.
That's right. And that's why I like to take like Sloop or 5-amino. I cycle between them for muscle preservation. It's kind of the whole package.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to do another peptide webinar. We
Mhm.
did one, gosh, about 10 months ago now. It's been that long. I can't believe it. Time has
I
flown.
know.
And it was so successful. And people have been asking me, when are you going to do another one? So we are going to do another one on November 20th. For
Mhm.
people, November 20th at 5 p.m. It's going to be on my Substack.
5 p.m.
Um,
Central, right?
5 p.m. Central. I'm going to be airing it live on my Substack. sarahwestall.substack.com. And assuming I can get that working, I can. I know people are always going live on Substack. So we're going to go live on Substack. And then we're going to dive into more detailed on different peptides because you have peptide guides, you have a whole class that you help people, you have a tribe, you have all these things. Yes, which is just phenomenal. And so we're going to talk about that in our webinar. And again, November 20th at 5 p.m. Central Time
Thursday.
on
The Thursday before
Thursday
Thanksgiving.
before,
Yeah.
no, it's Thursday, the Thursday before Thanksgiving
Yeah.
on my Substack. Okay, awesome. This is
Yeah.
great. I always love talking to you. We tend to resonate on this stuff. And like I said, I'm so glad that you got me into this like over a year ago. And it's transformed my life and my skin and everything. And
Yes.
it's all just getting into regenerative medicine in general has been a game changer for me. And I think that it can be for everybody if they want it to be. It's not like I'm doing anything magical. I'm not taking any kind of, thing that's bad. I'm not part of the occult. I promise you, I'm doing things simply with peptides and basic health wellness stuff.
Yeah, and the basic wellness stuff, people know that, like I said earlier, they should be, but there's a bridge, and this is where regenerative medicine comes in. There's a bridge so that you finally actually do want and crave the things that your body needs because of the cell signaling that happens. And this is not something that is only available for people who have lots of money. This is actually going to save you money in the long term because disease is very expensive. And it's not just disease, but we're talking about people who are losing their lives very quickly from cancer, autoimmune disease. And it's not just losing their life, they're losing their livelihood because I get text messages at least 3 a week from very close people in my life who are like, one of which who's very close in my life. And he said, my wife has reverted into an 8-year-old in the last few months. And she was a very prominent dentist in her entire life, very smart woman. And she's operating at the brain of an 8-year-old. Cognitive function is on the decline. So this is not just people who want to look younger or lose weight. We need this.
It's not just vanity. I mean,
No.
but the
Yeah.
anxiety and
Yeah.
yes, and also preventing illnesses such as what took my mom, preventing illnesses that caused my dad's stroke. I mean, these things are happening everywhere.
Yeah, they are. And peptides, everything that you can think of where it pertains to disease or symptoms, there is a peptide for that or a combination of them. And it is easy, it is accessible, it's not super expensive. You do it at home. You don't need to go to a clinic and have them inject you or tell you what to do. It's all things that is right in your hands and in your reach. And that, like Sarah said earlier, that could change at any time because, they took away tirzepatide. That is no longer a GLP that we have access to. They put cease and desist in all the peptide companies, which, by the way, also not every peptide company is treated alike. There is less than 2% of the peptide companies out there that are actually doing, third-party
That's right.
testing and have certificate of analysis, and they're not coming from China, and they're not being sold by influencers. They're not greenwashing their products. Collagen, yeah, it's a peptide, but it's nowhere near like GHKCU copper peptides that are the precursor to help your body make more collagen. So
And I take that every single day.
isn't it amazing? And you could see it on your face. And Sarah doesn't have a filter. That's just the thing, is that we can have everything that we want with peptides, and we're not delusional about it. Sarah and I are walking our talk and talking our walk, but other way around, with this stuff. And so you don't have to be super sciencey. You don't have to have a lot of money. You just have to have a will to want to ascend and take care of yourself and not be so codependent on a system that doesn't care about you. It cares about your money. And sure, there are some nice doctors. Sure, the doctors are nice. Yes, some have good bedside manner, but it doesn't mean that the programming and the education that they got was nice. Do not let that fool you, right, Sarah?
Well, that's what I said. I'm like, I was, one of my venting to you was my mom's doctor was nice, so she liked her. And I was like, F nice. I don't want nice. I want you to be competent. And I was so mad. Just a quick correction here. During the interview, I said you need to sign up for the webinar, for the peptide webinar that I'm doing with Dr. Diane Kazer on my Substack. That you can sign up for it and get notices about it, but to actually sign up for the webinar, you need to go to sarahwestall.com/peptides. That gets you in the official mailing list just for the webinar, and it also allows you to submit questions. So remember, sarahwestall.com/peptides, and the webinar is going to be November 20th at 5 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah, we get fooled into this niceness, and people could be nice, but they could have faulty programming or faulty education.
Care about nice. We want nice.
Education. Yeah.
But I don't want nice over competence when your life is on the line.
Exactly. Very well said. Exactly well said. I mean, nice. Okay, great. Well, I feel good around them, but nice doesn't equal you can trust them.
Not with your life or something serious. I wouldn't mind going to a bar with them or having dinner with them or sitting around a campfire, but I'm not going to put anything that I trust in their hands unless I know they're competent.
Yep.
Right? I mean, come on.
Yep. And especially the baby boomer generation, that's kind of where they're at. They've been programmed the hardest with all of this, with the programming that started in the 50s on the television. And, they think that people who are nice have their best interest, but the person might not be a bad person, but the system that they learned is not in their best interest. And that's what we're going to talk about in the webinar. So you guys bring any of your questions, bring your concerns. These are peptides that are miracle molecules. And if you have a will to get better, get off medications, or achieve anything with your health, I mean, this is what it's all about. There's, several peptides that we talk about, like 50 of them. So we'll have answers for you from a doctor who cares.
That's right. Dr. Diane, thank you so much for joining the program. I just so much appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Always amazing being here with you, Sarah. And we're in this together as women and in the collective for the awakening. So thanks for having me on again. I look forward to seeing you guys on November 20th.